Ghostbusters 2016 is directed by Paul Feig and stars Melissa McCarthy, Kate McKinnon, Kristen Wiig, and Leslie Jones. And is basically a reboot of the Ghostbusters film, which tells a story about a group of women trying to form their own Ghostbusters team to try and go up against the ghosts in New York City. Now, if you've seen my reviews for all the canon films, you know that I enjoyed the majority of them. The latest one I thought was okay. Afterlife was pretty good. I thought 2 was disappointing, but the first one is always going to be the best. In the middle of all that, between the Afterlife stuff and Frozen Empire and the original movies, was this little turd. Didn't know what it was doing there, but it came and even finished more quickly than the bad guy in Frozen Empire. Like, it did not even get hard or wet, you know what I'm saying? Instead of being a fun reboot of the Ghostbusters franchise, it felt like a tired mess that didn't know what it wanted to be. Did it want to be a Paul Feig comedy? Did it want to be a actual Ghostbusters movie? Did it want to be an annoying piece of shit that basically put a giant stain in the franchise and basically, as a Ghostbusters film, insulted its fan base literally? I think that's what it mostly tried to do, but I think it's a combination of so many different things. I think Paul Feig is a fine enough comedy director. I haven't seen many of his movies in a while, but movies like It's a Favor or Spy, I thought were pretty good. I haven't seen Bridesmaids or anything like that, but I heard that he's like a good director. And from what I've seen, apart from this, he's fine, but Ghostbusters, man, it's just, his style doesn't really fit well within this universe. And I know it's like a new group of characters, so you got more opportunity to do your own thing, which I like for a reboot to do. I like how this reboot tries to feel different from the original. It's trying not to do the same thing mostly, even though the basic premise and story and setup is just the same as the movie. The overall tone and feeling, I can't say is the same, but I cannot say it is any good. What this movie does to bring the information it needs to get across to the audience, I think it does it in a much more exposition-y way that is boring to listen to, and it's just stuff that I felt like could have been like trimmed down if the dialogue was tightened a little bit. Felt like the dialogue here explained too much of the scientific stuff, and while a lot of that can be fun, none of the characters felt like it was specifically for them. Everyone knows about the science stuff. It's not like Kate McKinnon is the only science nerd who's able to spit out this information and have that be her characteristic. Which brings me along to the Ghostbusters themselves. These ladies don't feel distinguishable. They have certain attributes and quirks that may be distinguishable, but as overall characters, they all feel the same. They all feel like they tell the same type of jokes. They all have the same type of chemistry. They all just feel like the same characters, and it was hard to really latch on to them, especially when they started off, apart from Leslie Jones' character, as jerks. They really don't feel like likable characters, and because of that, I had a hard time caring about them throughout the rest of the film. There was a conflict between the two main characters played by Kristen Wiig and Melissa McCarthy, where it was absent in the second act completely, never brought up again after the first act, and then it had a resolution all of a sudden in the third act. And how that played out, I felt like it was rushed, that the writers had no idea that they were doing that, and then it was like last minute they remembered, oh, we had a conflict between these characters, let's resolve that with no proper build up. And so for that, it made the emotional payoff feel so weak. Let's also talk about the visuals and special effects and production of the film. What I love about the original is that it had a lot of practical effects mixed in with a bunch of other special effects to help it feel fantastical. This movie had the privilege of being released in an era where CGI is possible to make things look very realistic. Unfortunately, while some of the designs are creative enough, I guess, and the visual and color scheme of everything is good, I felt like it was too much CGI and not enough practical effects, and even the CGI that is there isn't really that great. I know I praise like the colors, and this movie does look vibrant and colorful, and I like that cinematic look it has at times. It just makes the film also feel overproduced and just oversaturated, and like it was too fake at the very end. It felt like it had this entire Avengers level big sky beam in the sky final battle, and it just didn't feel like Ghostbusters. It sprinkled a few elements here and there and some very distasteful cameos, and it just felt like it was doing a lesser version and is trying to Avengers Marvelify the Ghostbusters brand, and I just couldn't buy into the big extravagant fight sequences that look so ridiculous and choreographed. Ghostbusters was just these guys bantering off. It was just a comedy. There wasn't really any action. Even the final act, I wouldn't say in the original, is an action scene. Yeah, they're shooting their proton packs at them and they're trying to contain this ghost, but they're trying to use their mind, they're trying to use their wits and trying to figure out technical ways on how to solve this problem. They're not like punching ghosts or doing karate kicks and everything. Yeah, I like the movie is trying to do something different from the previous, but it just feels so far away from Ghostbusters that I can't really buy into it. Not to mention the fact, I just found the story to feel predictable. I know where it's gonna go because it's just repeating the same plot points as the original in just a less creative way with worse written characters. Like, they all just feel like stand-ins for the previous actors, except they don't have the same charisma or they don't feel distinguishable from each other. And the dialogue and banter was never funny. I didn't laugh a single time in this movie out loud. There was like a couple of that's it. I really didn't find anything gut-busting, laughing-inducing. Like, nothing in this movie was really all that hilarious or even funny. And man, I seen Paul Feig do better than this. This just felt like he was phoning it in for a paycheck, because this just feels like an overproduced mess that was just trying to bank on the original. Yeah, the cast members seem like they're having fun in their roles, but the script has given them jack shit to do. I felt like that was the biggest problem. The screenwriting was terrible, and the overall vision just felt like a studio-made decision to have it feel like a Marvel movie, when it should have just been a fun Ghostbusters remake. Even if it had all women, I would have been fine with it. If it had like a good story and well-written characters, I would have been fine for an all-women Ghostbusters. I wasn't like one of those people back then that just wanted to hate the movie because there's women in it. And that's not what a lot of people thought back then either. We just wanted a good Ghostbusters movie. This is like also one of those movies that started this whole trend of strong female characters. And if you don't like a strong female character in a Hollywood film, they're sexist or misogynist or racist, and we've seen this trend so many times. Definitely many times it's warranted and sometimes it is not, but it led to a lot of film discussion not being all that fun anymore. It doesn't help with the fact that the creator, the directors, and the actresses just fed into that and just made this whole thing just feel like it was done passionlessly, like they're just going for a paycheck, and when they went out actually insulting the fans, it was disheartening to see because it felt like this movie was made in bad faith and that no one really was invested in telling a good Ghostbusters story or retelling the same story in a creative or passionate way that respects the original. This felt like a spit in the face in everything that the original film stands for. Even some of the lesser Ghostbusters films like Ghostbusters 2 or Frozen Empire, those movies still feel like they understand what makes Ghostbusters a pop culture phenomenon, and they at least respected the original and tried to build upon those foundations to create new stories that all Ghostbusters fans can at least enjoy. I cannot see any Ghostbusters fan enjoying this one. I found it to be poorly written, poorly directed, murky visuals, and overall just, I don't know what to say anymore. This movie is just, it just got worse over time. I didn't think it was that bad back then. I didn't like it back then either, but rewatching it now, I really can't find much to really enjoy in this because there really isn't. Nothing here was done better than any of the movies at all. Like, this is definitely, in my opinion, the worst Ghostbusters film ever made. And so for that, I'm going to give Ghostbusters Answer the Call a D-. It was so close to an F, but the cinematography at least was fine enough. There were only a couple of chuckles here and there, but overall, this was just a terrible Ghostbusters film that I don't recommend anyone see it. I don't think it's even a good movie in general. Like, it was poorly written. It was that bad. I just stay away from this one. Just follow the original canon and just pretend that this one exists in the dumpster where it belongs. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please leave a like, subscribe, comment, and I will see you guys next time.